Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Heroic Review. My name is Goombasa, I play Razor the Crystal Pony, and I am filling in for Deadly Reg, who sadly could not be here this week. I am joined this week by Austin Shaw. Say hi, Austin.
Greetings.
And who do you play in the Heroic Heroes?
I play the Thunderguts Dragonhead.
And we are also joined by our resident awesome McCool name, BrainedbySaucepans.
Why, hello there. I am the narrator for the Heroic Tale of Heroic Heroes, as you can probably tell by the tone of my voice. This is just how I speak. Deal with it.
It's a very good speaking voice. We are also joined by newcomer Quiet Water. Hello, Quiet.
Hello there.
And who are you playing in the Heroic Tale?
I play the part of Zero the Goat.
And finally, we are joined by Swedley.
Greetings, one and all.
And who are you playing?
I am playing Worm, the dark griffin wizard who likes to plant flowers and not kill people.
Fantastic. So, this week we are talking about Season 4, Episode 4, Daring Don't. A brief synopsis of the episode before we get into our general thoughts. The episode begins with Rainbow Dash eagerly anticipating the release of the new Daring Do novel, which is 4 months away. However, after being informed by Twilight that the new book has been delayed for another 2 months, assuming the author, A.K. Yearling, could use a hand, Rainbow convinces all of her friends to find her and assist her with their daily life so she can focus on the book. However, upon finding her, they discover that Miss Yearling is in fact Daring Do in the flesh, and all of her books are based on her real-life struggle against the dreaded Zodal. Now, ever the fangirl, Rainbow decides, against Daring's wishes, to assist her hero in defeating Zodal's latest scheme. Starting with Swedley, what was your overall view of this episode?
It's hard for me to say because I love almost every episode of the show, but this was an episode that I actually didn't like that much.
I can't wait to hear you elaborate on that, because I loved it. Quiet Water, what was your opinion of the episode?
I found it a little bit predictable that the author of Daring Do would be actually Daring Do herself. Well, overall, I liked it. I mean, I'm a terrific fan of what they do with the music and the voice work and whatnot. But yeah, just a little predictable.
Okay. Saucepans?
I hated this episode. Oh, God. I usually thoroughly enjoy most of the episodes of the show, but this one, it wound me up a lot. We had the main characters acted like complete and utter idiots. And we know they're not idiots. We've seen them act in stressful situations before, and it just derailed the characters for the purpose of telling a story which, quite frankly, didn't work and didn't need to be told.
Okay. And Austin, your opinion?
I would have to agree with Saucy on this. I suppose I should start off by saying that Read It and Weep is probably one, at least in my top 3 favorite episodes of all time. But, I mean, I expected a lot more from a follow-up episode, and this one just really didn't deliver for me.
Well, I'll say for my money that, while I can see where you're coming from, I did enjoy the episode very much, at least from a purely humorous standpoint, and from a standpoint of seeing Rainbow Dash sort of out of her element. We'll get into that in a little bit. So we are moving on to the free-for-all section of our discussion. So does anybody want to kick off with a point of discussion?
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to start off with what I liked about it, so that I'm making sure I'm being fair with this. I did enjoy some of Dashy's faces, like she made this funny little smirk when Daring Do and Zodal were talking about proposals in like a joking sort of way, and she made like this cute smirk. I really liked that.
Rainbow Dash's fangirl side in general was just really funny, and I enjoyed that.
It was funny initially, I thought, but it was overplayed massively.
That's the other point I was going to talk about. I sort of like the hype and the nerd speak between Twilight and Rainbow at the beginning, because it reminded me of some of my friends, and how I talk to them sometimes. Other thing that I really liked was the return of the little kitty cat in the feline gang, and even the little black guy it got. I just thought that was funny beyond all hell.
It is nice to see sort of recurring elements. It's a joke that was funny the first time, it was funny the second time.
Yeah. And then also, I just sort of thought Dashy reminded me of the Brony fandom as a whole. I mean, perhaps any fandom, but like how I felt when I first became a Brony. Like, I was slow and cautious at first. This is referring back to Read It and Weep. But give it a year or so and start to speak about it like it's a second language. You know, has anyone else done that?
I have.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And lastly, for the pros, in general, I liked how they represented Aztec lore with Ahuizotl. I mean, outside Dora the Explorer, you're probably not going to see that very much.
I will say I really enjoyed Ahuizotl as a character in this. He's very much a Bond villain, in my view.
Oh, definitely.
Completely maniacal, completely full of himself. He just makes a fantastic comedic villain in this setting, I think. While at the same time actually being relatively threatening in how he looks and acts at times.
I'll agree with you there.
Definitely. I have to say, if the focus had been more on him, it could have saved the episode, in my view.
Yeah, I don't think it went far enough into his story.
No, I don't even think necessarily having the story necessary. My problem with his episode is, on a fundamental level, it just doesn't work. I would say give the villain more time because it was a fun villain, Ahuizotl, but thinking about it again, it just wouldn't change my problem with it, because my problem with it is the entire sort of concept of the story just doesn't work for me at all.
What part of the concept doesn't work for you?
Well, this episode requires the main six to be incompetent. And they just sort of stand there watching. And we've seen these characters before. We've seen them in action. We know that in most cases they've got their heads screwed on the right way. And yet in this case, they're just sort of standing there gawping, going, oh wow, look, our hero's getting beaten up. Isn't that amazing?
It also doesn't really help that near the end of the episode, they also do put on their action shoes once again in that whole scene where they're playing keep away with the gold ring.
That's another positive I would have to add. The action scenes were very well done.
Yes, they were. I agree with it. But once again, that just, the flaw is at the central conceit of the episode.
It seems like the episode is wrapped around the moral, whereas they don't try to integrate it well.
Yeah, a lot of the plot points, in my opinion, did not work well. I mean, first of all, the whole M. Night Shyamalan reveal that Daring Do is a yearling. What a twist!
I just head desks at that point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but why?
And the other big problem for me, the fight with the big cats, her wing isn't hurting at that time. She could just fly away. And I mean, sure, her plan was to get into the temple and destroy the rod, but you could regroup and destroy the rod later, or hell, you could just break the ring. I mean, that big ring seemed to shatter at the end, which leads to my belief that those rings are really rigid, therefore really fragile. Or at least you could just bend it out of shape, or just snap it at some point.
Speaking of wings, why was she walking through the forest when she could have just flown?
So she could be really scrutinous, I guess? I don't know.
I wouldn't count that as a flaw myself. We have seen that some Pegasi prefer walking, some prefer flying.
I suppose.
And the last thing that really got me, if all these characters are real, ponies thought they were fictional characters from a novel series, but they're actually real. How has nobody connected the dots? Nobody's seen like a cat dog creature with a hand on its tail running around causing havoc and trying to stir up 800 years of extreme heat, whatever threat that might cause since Celestia controls the sun.
Yeah.
And nobody has seen Daring Do running around with treasures or donating them, if that's even what she does, if she just wanted to destroy priceless ancient artifacts here.
You're 100% right there. That is the big problem with the episode. I have no problem with Daring Do and the characters being a real sort of canon part of the world. However, other ponies would know that. I
agree with, Ahuizotl being a bigger villain. I feel like he should have been in a stone by now. But, I mean, I guess with Daring Do, she's supposed to be secretive. She's not supposed to get all the attention.
When you destroy an ancient temple like that, that's bound to get noticed, unless Equestria just has little to no surveillance group whatsoever.
Well, it is deep in the forest. I mean, I don't know.
And according to the map at the beginning of the episode, they did go quite a long ways from Ponyville, if Pinky's big red paint line is to be believed.
Okay, that was pretty funny, Pinky painting the trail. I enjoyed that.
That was a good bit, yes. As I say, so many little bits of this episode kept sort of trying to save it, but then we have another scene of Rainbow Dash being a complete idiot for 5 minutes at a time, and being out of character.
I will, to a point, defend Dash's behavior in this, because I have seen people who get very unreasonably worshipy when they meet their heroes.
Yes, but we've also seen that's not Dash. We've seen Dash meet the Wonderbolts, and while, yes, she was sort of nervous and shy, but she still had focus.
Well, yes, but she's had 3 seasons to develop her relationship with the Wonderbolts, and this is the first time she's ever met a character who she, up until now, thought was completely fictional. and who she idolizes.
Yeah.
You've got me there.
Since she went to the Wonderbolt camp and all, I feel like, since she would have spent a lot more time with Spitfire, she would have gotten used to the starstruckness.
No, but even before that, though, I can't remember the name of the episode where the flying competition.
Oh, Sonic Rainbow.
Sonic Rainbow.
That's the one. We see that in the heat of the moment, she acts decisively.
Well, why I did enjoy the episode, it wasn't because of the story. It was really the jokes and everything that wasn't the story that kept it going. And I sort of kept hoping for the entire episode that the story would take an unexpected left turn somewhere.
But we all know we watched the show for the plot.
Shush you.
Yeah, it's hard to rely on gags. But I do think, as a story, there's a lot of tropes that have been used a lot in the past, and I didn't enjoy that. Like, Rainbow Dash is the eccentric, just trying to help, and, Daring Do's just kind of...
Oh, the dynamic between Rainbow Dash and Daring Do in this was just...
Yeah.
Seen it done so many times before, and it just was done badly in this as well.
Yeah.
I really don't think that is a criticism that I have about the episode, is the fact that there really was not enough interaction between them.
Definitely.
Yeah. With Daring Do having not trusted anyone for years, it seems like, it doesn't seem feasible that she would just suddenly start to trust somebody, after they return their hat and help them lift a ring. I feel like there needs to be more than that.
And don't forget saving her from the piranha-infested lake.
Well, yeah, but she was kind of apprehensive about that.
Yeah, she gave that squinty smile like, I trust you. Haha. No.
Yeah, I found myself siding with Daring Do quite a bit in this episode.
Definitely. But, well, that's understandable because, let's face it, Dash acts like a complete utter idiot in this episode.
So it seems like people have a bit of a problem with this one being a follow-up to Read It and Weep, but Rainbow Dash didn't exactly act very logically in that story either.
I suppose.
I'm just playing devil's advocate at this point because, again, I did genuinely enjoy this episode, despite the fact that I was thoroughly aware of most of the flaws that you guys are pointing out. I guess I'm just a sucker for a very good adventure story, because this one was very clearly trying to be a send-up, once again, to adventure serials and the Indiana Jones trilogy, kind of like how the original Read It and Weep was trying to do it, but it was trying to play it a little bit more straight, because in this one, it wasn't fiction in fiction.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
and it would have worked brilliantly as well if they just changed the involvement of the main characters.
The thing about it is, as you pointed out, the main characters acted very out of character here, but they didn't really have much purpose in this episode, which has been a bit of a criticism for some of the episodes in the past. Like, back in season 1, a lot of episodes really did not need Twilight to be there to facilitate the plot. She was just there because she was the only one writing letters at the time.
Yeah, did they really need all 6 in this episode?
Yeah, apparently they just needed Fluttershy there to say that they actually should go in and help Daring Do.
Yeah, it probably would have worked better with just Rainbow Dash and Twilight there.
It would have worked a lot better that way, I think, as well, yeah.
They could have even done with just Rainbow Dash.
Yep, the one downside to that was we wouldn't get that big action climax at the end, but I'm sure there could have been another way to pull that off without dragging the other 5 into it.
I don't know, I think Twilight should have been there.
Agreed, that, yes, definitely, because it is pointed out at the beginning that Twilight is the person who got Rainbow Dash into the books.
Yeah. And some of their fandom banter that they do is pretty funny.
It could have worked really well, actually, just Twilight and Rainbow Dash sort of just being competent, but also being overawed as well at the same time, rather than just Rainbow Dash being there and just being, oh wow, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing.
There is one scene that I feel like explained some of the flaws, or at least addressed them somewhat. It was when Rainbow Dash was on her own in the forest and she was fighting with her fandom side. I do feel like that kind of added a little bit.
That is true, yeah, and she kept slapping herself, which I found immensely amusing for some reason. Speaking of, does anybody know who wrote this episode? I wasn't paying attention during the beginning credits.
It was Dave Polsky.
Okay, no surprise there, because Polsky's scripts are usually very slapstick heavy, usually at the expense of narrative, as has been pointed out before.
I just had a theory. What if the reason Daring Do made this whole adventure more difficult than it needed to be, with not flying and going in alone, yada yada yada, is because she's multitasking. Like, she's just as avid with her novel writing as she is about archaeology.
Or perhaps she just wants some new material for her book, so she makes the journey drag on a little longer.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're reading a book, how boring would it be if the hero just ran away because he or she knew that the enemy couldn't follow her?
That's actually a very smart theory. I enjoy that.
Sorry, I don't see that working at all.
Neither do I.
That brings back the problem I have with Daring Do somehow being a real character in this world.
The theory that I had, and I say this prefacing with the fact that I follow the spoilers that the Hub puts out quite frequently, so I was pretty well aware of a lot of stuff that was going to go on in this episode before it aired. But my theory, based on a few screenshots that had been released around the time they were hyping up for this episode, was A.K. Yearling was still going to be Daring Do, but she travels inside of her books and lives out the adventures inside those.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen too. Yeah, like there's some sort of magic something, whatever, where she goes into the book. It's not lived out in her life.
That
would have been cool.
Yeah.
I actually thought that was where the episode was going when she was frantically searching around the house for that book, which then turned out to have the giant gold ring in it.
I think another way this could have worked really well, if this has been an Artists Have Lives 2 episode. I religiously avoid spoilers myself, because I like everything sort of novel and surprising, and I find that if I have expectations, they tend to taint my experience of a work. But the way the episode started, it did seem to be going down the road of, okay, Rainbow Dash is going to make herself a nuisance, and A.K. Yearling is going to be annoyed with her, and it'll be a better version of, what was the episode with the Pinkie Pie and the donkey?
A Friend Indeed.
Yeah, it could have been a better episode of A Friend Indeed, because I hated A Friend Indeed. That was a terrible, terrible episode.
But it gave us the Smile song.
Yes, it gave us the Smile song. Yes, that's a bloody good song, but the rest of the episode is just, yes, it's okay if you just keep pestering people endlessly and endlessly. As long as you mean well, it'll all work out fine. I'm sorry.
Saucy, you're just an angry, angry man.
I am. But no, this episode could have been the perfect counterpoint to that one. It could have been that episode, but okay, sometimes these things don't work out. Sometimes, if you're being irritating, the thing to do is stop being irritating.
So you're saying you would have preferred it more as a slice of life story than the adventure story it turned out being?
Yes! In this case, it just didn't work. I'm just saying what could have worked for me.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the adventure setting helped it very much.
I feel like it's trying to mingle the two settings.
Oh, something that I should mention in relation to this episode, because I know it's going to get brought up in the comments or is going to be discussed in tandem with this episode in the coming week, is the fan theory that got brought up after the more recent arc in the comics was released. Nay, anything. Because in issue 11 of the comic series, in the background of Twilight's family's house, there was a writing desk with a lot of writing awards that were attributed to Twilight Sparkle's mother, Twilight Velvet.
I was so hoping for that.
Yeah, which led to a lot of people believing that she was the writer of the Daring Do series, because one of the awards actually had Daring Do written on it.
That's one thing then. This episode definitively proves that, yep, comics are non-canon.
Aha, I have a counterpoint. Andy Price, who is the artist for this particular arc, has tweeted about that and stated that it is not an award for writing Daring Do. It is an award for writing that is named after Daring Do, which does still line up with canon.
Oh.
Honestly, that sounds like arse covering to me. Sorry, but...
It might as well be, but it does still line up with canon, because in her trading card, too, Twilight Velvet's trading card, it even states that she is a big fan of and a writer of adventure stories. So it makes sense to me that she would be awarded an award for writing, say, young adult adventure stories.
I feel like that would have made a better episode if she was the writer.
Probably, yes, but the thing is, you have to remember that the team that come up with the comics, all due respect to them, they're not part of the creative team. They're part of the marketing and selling team. Sorry.
Don't they get the scripts a little bit in advance, though? I mean, like, before the episodes air?
If they do, good for them. That doesn't mean that they have any creative control over this whatsoever. I put them in the same category as the people who come up with the card descriptions, and this all just sounds like they're coming up with their own stuff, and it's being disputed by canon. Sorry.
Well, okay, thank you for that. We're going to make so many friends this episode.
Yup.
do we have any other points about this episode that we would like to bring up?
Everything technical-wise was pretty good.
I usually enjoy the music, and this was no exception. I thoroughly enjoyed the scoring.
Yeah, I will state that, once again, it does show quite a bit of improvement in terms of visuals. As has been pointed out, we got 2 or 3 new Dash faces out of this, and I thoroughly expect them to start showing up as memes before the day is out.
I do have one thing that I would have liked to see. This has nothing to do with the story or anything, just something I personally would have liked to see. What if Dash was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, she looks just like me!
You know what? That actually would have been pretty cool.
It might have fed in more to how she always wanted to be right there next to Daring Do to help with the adventure.
I do think that we kind of got that when she saw herself on the cover of the book at the end of the episode, which I do, for all the problems that we brought up with the episode, I did really like that last shot where she sees herself on the cover of the book.
Yeah, that worked nicely. Yeah.
So I think what we should talk about before we start wrapping this up is the moral, because this was the first episode that officially had one of the ponies writing in their brand new journal. So what do we all think of the moral and how the journal entry was handled?
The moral was good, the execution was not.
I don't know. It was about not downgrading yourself in the face of your heroes, right? But it also felt a little bit like accepting help again.
I had a very hard time actually pinpointing what the moral was supposed to be in this episode.
Yeah, me too, sorta.
I found at least 3 or 4. The whole, don't degrade yourself, give writers their privacy, that's another one. Accept help, that's another, but those two kind of contradict each other, so, a little bit.
I did sort of like the journal entry sort of thing. I missed the, Dear Princess Celestia, but, I thought it was a good way to sort of keep that in place, that sort of feeling at the end of the episode.
They should have said something other than Dear Diary.
I don't think she did. I think she just launched into the monologue about the moral.
And that's how I think it should be if they're not addressing Princess Celestia, just in my opinion. Because who are they addressing? Dear future reader of this journal.
Dear Princess Diary. So I think that about wraps it up, unless anybody else has anything else they'd like to say before we wind down.
I really like the little things that they put in. Did anyone notice the Batman doll?
What?
What?
I'm pretty darn sure there was a Batman doll in the rummage. That was A.K. Erling's house.
Ha!
Really? I missed that.
I'll have to find that then, yes.
Yeah, that's the quiet things that kind of make it for me from time to time.
Everything except for the plot, I guess I enjoyed. I really enjoyed the animation. As I mentioned earlier, the gags were funny.
I will say once again that it is definitely not the best episode, and it's setting the bar pretty low in terms of season 4 episodes that we've had so far, but I did at least enjoy it on this initial watch. And that's probably because I'm a sucker for an adventure story, and Daring Do is also one of my favorite parts of the pony fandom.
She's one of my favorite parts, but it could have been used a lot more effectively. And I don't know, maybe my expectations were a little bit too high.
Well, for the first 5 minutes, I thought it was going to be an episode about Dash fantasizing what the book could be, dabbling into fanfiction or something.
Yes, that would have been great if she, in the beginning of the episode when she was fantasizing about what the book would be, if she had gone more into that,
Overall, my thoughts are, I really hope this isn't an indicator of the quality we can expect from the rest of season 4. Considering the first 3 episodes, though, I don't think this is an indicator.
It's just a little hiccup.
Just a bump in the road.
All right, then. I guess it's time for us to say our goodbyes. So from everybody here at the Heroic Review, we would like to say goodbye. Austin?
Good day.
Saucepans?
Be well, people.
Quiet Water?
Goodbye, and thank you for having me.
And Swedley?
Don't turn off the lights. Don't turn off the lights. Please don't turn off the lights!
And I have been your moderator this week, Goombasa, and I look forward to seeing you all next week as we discuss Flight to the Finish. So until then, be lovely to each other and have a good day.